Well, hello, and welcome back to Fair Life with Andrew McKee. It was an interesting weekend, and yeah, definitely had a lot of fun. And hey, people are already here: Janine and Kevin and Kathy and Jan and Harvey. Thanks. Hey, thanks for joining. It was an interesting weekend, I have to say. At Sherwood Forest Fair, saw some of you there, but yeah, it was a little rainy on Saturday. Not as much as the earlier forecasts feared, but still had like a 2 30-minute periods of rain during the day. One a little after in the early afternoon, and another one in the more towards the late evening before close. So yeah, it was definitely a cool, not too bad, all things considered. And the crowd was really good. On Saturday, what we had a little over 7,700 people. And on a rain day, that's not too bad. It didn't feel like there were that many, though. Um, I'd say it was more like, I mean, to me, it felt more like 4,500 or something. But uh, from what I was getting from people, it sounds like what happened was some people came up first thing in the morning, and then when the first rain kind of hit, you had a bit of a mass exodus where a good group of people left, and then right after that first rain, it looked like it was going to be a great afternoon, and then a big chunk of people came in the afternoon. So I don't think there was ever 7,700 at one time. I think it was probably more like maybe 5,000 at one time at the most, and that's kind of what it felt like. So yeah, okay. Yeah, Jan was there and didn't feel crowded. Yeah, bathroom lines were really short. Always a good indicator of crowds at fair. Always. And Dan and Suri, hey, thanks for joining. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it was an interesting weekend. Sunday, I mean, it drizzled a couple of times during the day, very, very briefly, but that was it. It was not a problem. A lot cooler on Sunday, which might be the last cold front we really feel. But yeah, that was interesting for some of the fair day early. It was in the 50s. That was wild. But yeah, it was good. It was a good weekend, all things considered. Flew by. One of the things I do with my schedule is I just book myself up like crazy. I try to set aside at least 30 minutes for lunch. I get more like an hour with the current schedule. We'll see if that lasts for the whole season. But otherwise, it's pretty much nonstop. I don't really have much free time. So it's kind of wild. Generally, what happens is the gates open in the morning, and then I blink, and boom, I eat lunch. And then I blink again, and it's the end of the day. It's a weird feeling, very strange. But I have a lot of fun, so I'm definitely not complaining. Ooh, 5 inches of rain. Yeah, we didn't get anywhere near that. Although the area was very dry. There was a burn ban on site. Hopefully, there was enough rain to counter that for next weekend. But yeah, well, we definitely needed it. And it was a little dusty from before, from the first weekend. So this really cut that down, and I like that. So definitely. And hey, Kurt and Nancy. Yeah, it was a good first week. I mean, second weekend, I should say. Good second weekend. I liked it. Very odd, too, for a few things. I was having some problems with my guitar pickup, and that's always a little stressful. It would work on some stages and not on others. And generally, there was only, but the first weekend, I was having some issues, but only on one stage. On the others and the pub sing, no problem at all. So I was thinking it's got to be that stage. But this on Saturday of this weekend, it was the same thing, except then I had trouble at the pub sing. I mean, at the other stage it worked fine, but at pub sing it had some problems. So then I started saying, okay, maybe it is the pickup. It may just be coincidence that it's starting to go out and it's inconsistent. And I did some testing Saturday night, and it looks like it needs to be replaced. So I already ordered another one, and I'm going to, be your own luthier. I've worked on my guitar a good bit now, so I'm comfortable just replacing. It already has a built-in pickup. I'm not really doing anything crazy. I'm just taking the old one out and putting another one in. So it's not really that difficult. I'm not breaking out the Dremel or anything. Don't worry. But yeah, that should take care of it, and then I should be good. I also upgraded the pickup. I had a fairly inexpensive one. I figured for Faire, don't go too crazy, and this is what I get. So it's my own fault maybe. So I got a much better one. We'll see if that works. I'll let you know. But so yeah, that was a little of the testing I did over the weekend. I always have a backup. I can use a microphone attached to a wireless setup and just put the microphone in the sound hole in the guitar, and it actually works pretty well. But it doesn't look that great, so I'd prefer to just use a standard pickup if possible. If for those of you that don't know, a pickup in a guitar is what makes a acoustic guitar electric, essentially. So you can plug it in. Let's see. Otherwise, last week I spent a good bit of time working on a new website for me. My old website, I mean, it's actually a little out of date right now on a few things. I haven't updated it, but partly because I've been working on the new one. And I might get that up this week completely, because a lot of the things I was upgrading and trying to test and make work, I got working. So one of the things I wanted to do was set up a really good events list, all of my upcoming shows, and have that very well organized on the website. Now, admittedly, this day and age, I don't know if having a lot of extra stuff on a website is that necessary, because these days a website is mainly just an evidence of credibility and a inflated business card. It really doesn't do much else these days. But yeah, I mean, this is kind of a website I've been kind of planning in my brain for several years. It's like if I really coded it from scratch, this is what I would do, kind of thing. My old one is a WordPress site, and I've never really been happy with it. So probably this will end up being my last website for a good while, and we'll see. If it gets up this next week, I'll let you know next week on the show and see what you think. I'll post an update on that online too, so you might even get to look at it before the show. Really? Okay, that's actually good to know. I was talking with some of the performers, last night about that, and a few of them were saying that that for websites they just have a redirect to like their Patreon page or something else. It doesn't, they don't really do much with it. And I mean, I get it, and I can't say they're necessarily, I mean, for them that might be the right move. I'm kind of with you, Jan. I kind of want that whole, I like seeing the schedule, and that's why the schedule was so important for me. What I did was I set it up so that I put my schedule as a CSV file. It's a simple text database file, old school, but very simple. I could download it and edit it in Notepad if I wanted to, and that's kind of cool for me. I mean, it gives me a lot of flexibility, and we're not talking about a very much information, so you're not really getting much of a speed increase with something more modern like MySQL or something. So you don't really get any benefits. So I just wanted a basic text file that easy to edit, and it loads it into the website, the information, and then it's easy I can even edit it from a separate web page online and do that. So we'll see. Hopefully it'll look good. Yeah. Okay, Lisa. Yeah. Yeah. A little bit. I mean, you can also kind of look at it as a landing page that kind of directs a funnel to other things that you're doing, your social media or whatever. And it should be that too. I mean, there's a lot of things a web page can do, but these days, one thing I've found is that major venues, whether it's conventions or even Ren fairs, they'll want to know what your web page is before they hire you. And if you don't have one, it's kind of a bad mark against you. But I don't even think they ever look at the webpage, honestly, unless maybe there's for marketing purposes, they check it just to get a blurb or a bio or use it as a online press kit, but get some pictures. But generally, they just want to know that you have a website, which says to them that you're a professional. That's kind of it. I've seen evidence of that over the last, honestly, 15 years or so from large events. Of course, sometimes they want to know if you have a YouTube page and I think just some options like that. And all of that kind of goes into how they decide whether you're a professional or not, or you're just some amateur trying stuff out, or just starting out. I don't know. It's tough to figure that out for some for some types of situations, because it's easy to make a mistake. The other thing that happened this weekend, which I thought was kind of wild, I was doing a show. Um, yeah, kind of. I mean, although you definitely have to worry about privacy. Uh, yeah, I was doing a show on Sunday, and it was there was a little drizzle right before at the beginning of the show, so there wasn't a huge crowd. People were kind of waiting to see if it got worse. So it was one of my not well attended shows, and I think I was only about I don't know, like 8 people in the audience, kind of thing. Really, really light. But that's okay. That happens. But one guy who was there for the whole show kind of enjoyed it and liked it, and then he took a picture, a one of those really cheap, inexpensive mini Polaroid pictures, and he took a picture. And at the end of the show, he gave that to me as a tip. That was his tip, to give me the picture. So, I mean, here, if you're curious, this is what it looked like. Um, Actually, I think I can put that up. Hold on. Did set that up, I think. Yeah, here you go. Boom. Yeah, you can kind of, see that up there. You can tell, not the best picture. The colors are wrong. I mean, like, I was wearing green pants. Not exactly green. And I don't know. It's very fuzzy. And it reminds me of Polaroid pictures from like before I was born that I'd see my parents or grandparents break out now and then when I was a kid, like pictures from the 70s or something. The quality is not great. I mean, Polaroids were never great quality, but there was definitely a progression, I think, from like the 60s, 70s into the 80s and 90s. But yeah, I don't know. I was a little weirded out by the concept of doing that as a tip. Um, I don't know. It made me kind of think about the whole issues with trinkets going on at fairs and the varying feelings about that. It's been a topic of conversation over the last couple of years, heavily. So yeah, I don't know. What are y'all's opinions on trinkets? Do any of you mess with that or even know what they are? I mean, I can give you a little history. Trinkets. Well, there is a history at Faire, but they used to be called trinkets. I know it goes back several decades, but they were called favors. And normally what would happen is members of the cast would hand make these little pins or items. And that was that they would give them to each other just to show that, hey, it was kind of like, I don't know, it always kind of reminded me of Valentine's Day in elementary school, where when you were a kid, and you always had those little paper Valentine cards that you would give to all the other students. It's kind of like that with the cast. They would do that mainly with their friends and people they knew. Sometimes they'd give them to performers too. I don't know how old it goes. I mean, it's at least probably 25, 30 years old, probably a lot more. I think it kind of stemmed from that whole classic concept of the knight in the joust. Before he goes on, he gets a favor from the lady in the stands, and gives him a handkerchief kind of thing that he wraps around his armor to show that she is on his side, rooting for him. Something like that. So that's kind of what favors were at Faire. Well, trinkets have kind of evolved a little bit. I mean, favors were also started to be done by Platrons. I don't know, maybe a decade, 15 years ago, a bit more. I've noticed, but after COVID, there was a huge influx of people coming from to Faire for the first time from other venues, and trinkets kind of started there. A lot of, I think, mainly at music festivals, where people would go and they couldn't hear. You couldn't have a conversation. You know, the music was so loud and it was indoors and everything, and people would give each other trinkets to kind of introduce yourself and make a connection. I guess it was something like that. And that practice kind of started coming into fairs as well. And it's been very disruptive in many ways. There have been a lot of weird, rules put in by fairs. Some fairs have outright banned them. It's really wild. Others have put very strict rules with them. And I kind of get it. It's definitely it's definitely strange. Oh yeah, 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 and that's true. That's true. Very true. Um, yeah, yeah, and I totally get that, Suri. Giving the Polaroids as gifts. Um, yeah, I mean, if you'd given me a tip and the picture, I would have been like, okay, but just I don't know. It's one of those like if you're short of money and you can't give a tip, I totally get that, and I'm not going to fault anybody for that. But to give something instead, it comes across like it's in place of a tip, and I don't know, it just seems weird. I've always had mixed feelings about that. And yeah, I totally agree. You can see it as a gift rather than a tip, but I mean, he literally put it in my tip bucket. So it's a little weird in that regard. I would have rather, and I wouldn't have even thought of it if he'd come up to me after the show and it just says, hey, I took this picture of you. I think it's pretty good. Here, I'd like to give it to you. That would have been fine. But just putting it in my tip bucket, that was a little weird. So maybe that was the mistake, I guess, in my mind. Yeah, something like that. Um, yeah, the trinkets as tips. I like a trinket, I guess, for those of you that don't know, maybe there are some of you who don't. I think most of you probably do, but I mean, they're in a lot of different shapes. Sometimes they can be like charms, like on a charm bracelet. Sometimes it's just a pin, uh, something to attach. Sometimes it's just a little thing like this, like a piece of plastic. This is one that I got in my tip bucket at one point, and yeah. It's just a little thing of plastic that looks like an acorn for this one. But there's a lot of little things like that. It's, yeah, I mean, it, the big problem is, um, oh, yeah, that's an interesting idea. To get a basket just for trinkets and a basket for tips. That's not the worst idea. I hadn't thought of that. That's interesting. Yeah, and that's what they originally were. As favors, they were more decorative. They were handmade, and they were designed to be like you could wear it on your garb, and it wouldn't detract. It wouldn't look cheap. It wouldn't look like it was, something generic. It was like flair on your garb to really add a little extra, and that's how people treated it. Now, the problem is a lot of fairs they don't like plastic stuff. They don't like to be taken out of that feeling of you're 1,000 years ago or 1,500 years ago or whatever the date is. I mean, you want to feel old school, more of a natural feel. I mean, there's a certain, I guess I could say naturalist vibe or hippie vibe or whatever you want to say that goes with Faire, and it's that really runs counter to that. But again, you have a lot of people that are coming in from other types of genres. I mean, whether it's, after COVID, I mean, I guess there's a lot of people coming from EDM festivals, electronic dance music, or, just something along those lines that were just a different attitude in a different place. They are, you know, conventions. A lot of people came from the convention circuit, where a lot of conventions were closed, but post-COVID, they could go to Faire, and it was outside and everybody felt safe. And you had a lot more cosplayers than you did before COVID. And so you had a very different attitude about it. Ah, yeah. I mean, I get that, and that's kind of it. I mean, trinkets. It's more. I, the big problem is it's become sort of a collector scavenger hunt kind of attitude with trinkets. It's not about the quality of the trinkets; it's about the quantity, and that's the issue. I think that's really made it a problem, because people will just buy in bulk. They'll find something cute or interesting, and they'll um, order, thousands of them, and they'll bring a big bag of them out there and start handing them out, and they'll want to get some from others, and it's all about how many trinkets you can get, and they have these huge walls of trinkets at their homes. It's a weird collector vibe, that I get, because we all have it in some way, but it's a feeling of feeling better about yourself by having more, which I don't think that's the healthiest approach to things. Yeah, they want to really collect them all, and so there's this whole competition aspect to it. It's I don't know. It's really weird. But there have been problems with it. I mean, you've mentioned a few of them already. Well, I mean, like for charms, like if you do something like that, like on a charm bracelet, or something that almost looks like a necklace, or things like that. Well, there's a lot of vendors at fairs that sell things like that, and you're essentially cheapening what they sell in a way. I mean, you can make the case that, well, theirs are better quality, and I'm sure that's true, but you know, it it uh, it takes away that special quality of it, and that's kind of become a problem with some. I think anybody that does anything relating to jewelry have had to really adapt over the last several years a lot. And of course, then there's also people that try to kind of promote their own businesses, and that's become a bit of an issue, because if you're at a fair and you're trying to have a business, and this is what I'm selling and everything, and you've paid money to be there. A jury of people working at the fair have agreed that what you're selling is good for the fair. Well, people can just walk in and have a little trinket with a QR code on one side, or a little attached to a business card that you can take with you with the trinket, and it can help promote you, and you use it for self-promotion. And fairs don't really like that. Uh, yeah, then there's of course also the liability, because small little bits of plastic or glass sometimes that people throw away, they drop, that kind of thing happens. People step on. Kids might try to swallow it. You never know. And who are they going to sue? They're going to sue the fair, and it's an issue. I mean, I actually carry insurance. I have to have insurance for fair when I perform. Um, they're not doing that, so it's kind of a what's fair sort of thing. Yeah, I tend to agree. I think it does feel very shady when people advertise with trinkets. Not a big fan of that. Not a big fan. Yeah. Yeah, and you're right. And that's kind of what happened with the whole concept of favors going to trinkets. I think you're right, Janine. Yeah. Mm. You're not wrong. I mean, you can wear your own creations, but this is not about your own stuff. This is about giving it around, just essentially trading a whole bartering network, because trinkets, it's not it's less about the gift and more about the barter. I give you one of my trinkets, you give me one of yours. And with that, you see how much you can collect. Part of the whole thing about a fair is you get people to go to a fair and they get that whole, oh, I should buy something feeling. I need to acquire things. And it's a useful technique in any type of store or in place like that to try to, whether it's the impulse buy, the checkout where they have all this extra stuff or whatever, to just kind of get you to, maybe be more open to buying something. Well, the whole trinket trade, the whole bartering concept, it trains your brain to get the same sort of endorphin hit from trading that you would normally get from buying, so you're less likely to buy. I know this is not exactly the most happy thought, about the whole capitalism and marketing and all of that, but it's kind of the world we live in. So yeah, it's a little weird. The other problem is I've been hearing about this for the last probably 2 years with performers. Well, no, I don't think one's required to buy. No, I don't mean that. It's just it's more like uh, there's a system in place, and now it's being messed with a bit. That's kind of it. I don't think anybody's required to buy anything. It's just I mean, trinket trading goes on in a shop when people are trying to make sales with people that are in their shop. It's been issues where somebody is looking to buy something and somebody will come up and say, oh, hey, I've got a trinket for you right here, and completely destroys the whole sales pitch, the spiel, the whole thing, that's the whole dynamic that's going on in the shop. It's yeah, I mean, it's caused problems, and I know I'm kind of going across the veil to say this is how sales works, but yeah, it kind of does. Yeah, that's kind of what I meant. It is a little scary. I mean, they can, kids will look at it like candy, or try it. It's that some of them are really small. Well, sure, and there's not, the thing about Faire is there's not one place to do it. I mean, there are people that just go to the pub and hang out there all day and buy a few beers and talk to their friends and relax, maybe see a show, and that's it. There are people that go there primarily to shop. They don't really see shows. They just go to all the different shops and see everything, and that's their time. Sometimes it's window shopping. There's nothing wrong with that. They just want to see what's available and enjoy that process. I mean, there's not just one way to do fair. So I don't mean to imply that. Hmm. Right. Right. Yeah. I mean, there's no. It's up to you, but it's just it's kind of it's there's a lot of adapting having to go on. I mean, I've seen at different fairs a lot of rules have cropped up. Like, okay, I looked a few up, and here's one example. One thing is like no giving things to children. Sometimes you can get away with that if you have their guardian or parent's permission, but kids, it's certainly a dangerous liability. Another one, and this rule was put on, and if they put this rule forth, it's because people were doing it. No impersonating a cast member with trinkets. Uh huh. That apparently was a problem at one point. Um, and also, don't give away trinkets that are so complex that resembles what an artisan um, is selling. And then no advertising and promoting your business uh, through trinkets. And also, oh, nothing edible. No drink, because some people would give away things that are edible. I know. Crazy, but true. Yeah, I think they've been trying to organize it a little bit. Sometimes they've set up designated areas for trinket trading, and that seems like a pretty solid approach to do that kind of thing. It's yeah, maybe that works. I don't know. I think the biggest issue is that the fairs really like having new blood, new people coming in to a fair that had never gone to one before. But it's a very this new culture that's developing. It runs very counter to the culture that was already established, and that's they're trying to figure out how to adapt because they don't want to shoo those people away, but they don't want to just change the way fairs are done, and that's kind of where we are. I agree. I totally agree with that. That you shouldn't try to sell anything or barter it. Yeah, and yeah. Yeah, impersonating cast is low. I saw that, and that my first thought was, wow, if they put that as a rule, somebody's done that. And whoa, yeah. Hmm. Yeah, and that's one route. Of course, there are shops that, believe it or not, sell feathers. I don't see it much at Fair, but I have seen it. So that's something that you'd have to be pretty careful with. Um, but yeah, sure. And that's generally how people do it. They set up food, they go see shows, and they'll browse. And if anything jumps out at them at the shops, good. But again, the one of the things I love about Fair, and I always have, is that it has a lot of different things for a lot of different people. And generally, it's rare for somebody to do everything. Generally, they pick, and this is what I like to do. For me, yeah, I mean, there was food, of course, but that was just because I was there long enough. Like you said, for me, it was always I wanted to watch all the music shows. I know, shocking, right? Yeah, I always wanted to watch the music shows and just enjoy those. But occasionally, I'd see a few other shows too and performances, and yeah, depending on who I was there at Fair with, I'd go into some shops. The Texas Renaissance Festival back in the day would have three music shops for musical instruments and or sheet music. And boy, would I go in there and look around and usually buy something. It is, oh yeah, speaking of which, yeah, classic Eric the flute maker bamboo flute from the Texas Renaissance Festival circa the mid 1990s. Yes. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Classic. Uh-huh. As an example. That's generally what I would do at Fair, but that was me. And everybody had the things they liked. Yes, that is a good example. Yeah, like I said, some fairs do have feather shops, and they specialize in some really not the kind of feathers you'd find at Hobby Lobby. I mean, really nice, good stuff. So yeah, I mean, they you do run into that, and sometimes you get shops that they'll sell feathers to be put in hats. You know, a lot of hat shops also have feathers. That's the other problem. There have been situations where people have used the trinket trade to do very unsavory things. So it can be very predatory. I mean, even if it's just uh, older guys going after younger girls kind of thing. I mean, I'm not saying it's prevalent, but it has happened. So definitely something to be aware of. Oh, the no outside food rule. Yeah, generally what people do is they bring food and keep it in a cooler in the car, and then they'll go if they want to go that route, they'll go out to their car and eat there, and then come back in, with the hand stamp kind of thing. They'll do that. If money is really tight and you're a student going to fair or something, then that is what I've seen people do in the past. Right, right. Yeah, that's so make it an official fair thing. Uh, I don't know if that would ever. I don't know if they're really that interested in doing it. I mean, I guess it's one route to go, but I don't know. I know, so yeah, I miss those music shops too. They used to be a lot more prevalent. Occasionally, you'll find a fair that has one. Some musical instruments, and they might have something. I've seen a few shops where they sold books, and they would have some music books, which were pretty cool. But yeah, that's kind of a yeah, not really thing. You're right. Some don't. A lot do. I um, I have seen some that didn't, but most of the ones I've been to do allow reentry because that's a hard one to avoid. Sometimes you forget something in your car. I mean, you really, uh, yeah. I generally they do, but you're right. Sometimes that isn't possible. And exactly the parking lot picnic. Mm. Oh, right. Yeah, we're already at 7:30. Yeah, thanks for reminding me. We're getting really off onto the into this conversation. Sorry. Not many. This is one of those really low lulls in time, so not many at all. So let's just go ahead and jump into that, and I'll show you real quick. Woohoo! Yeah, okay. So let's see. Starting off, we have the Bay Area Renaissance Festival in Dade City, Florida. This is week, I believe, 4 of 7. Yeah. Or is it 5 of 7? 5 of 7. Shamrocks and Shenanigans is the theme. And then you have the Florida Renaissance Festival in Deerfield Beach. And their theme is Clover, the Rainbow, a Gathering of Green. They really have the oddest theme topics. A lot of language. But essentially St. Patrick's Day. But Clover the Rainbow, a Gathering of Green. Okay, very wordy. Jumping over to Sherwood Forest Fair in Texas and McDade, third weekend. And yeah, they don't do themes, so no worries there. Then jumping over to Arizona Renaissance Festival, their seventh weekend, and it is Celtic Celebration. So kind of St. Patrick's Day too. So everybody's kind of going the St. Patrick's Day thing. So wild, but true. Okay. So there we go. And yeah, I think we're all good. Very well. It'll pick up a little more next weekend. We'll get another couple of fairs, and then it'll really start picking up after that. And yeah, but then we'll get to the spring fair rush. So don't worry. Yeah, you're not wrong. Sometimes dietary requirements are important, but I will say one thing: fairs are better with dietary restrictions than they've ever been. Even 20, 25 years ago, oh my gosh, it was hard to find anything that wasn't just standard fare, standard uh, turkey leg kind of food. And now, I mean, you can have gluten-free, vegan, vegetarian. I mean, some shops are even cautious about allergies and very open about that. I mean, it's come a long way. I've been very impressed, and with a lot of food options. Um, I mean, gosh, from one of my shows, one of my stages this weekend, it was across from a ramen shop. I know, crazy. I mean, yeah, wild, but a lot of different options. Some of them vegetarian is really wild. Yeah, that's an interesting idea. Okay. Yeah, I mean, doing the whole kind of like a kind of like a Friends of Fair thing for kids. I mean, that could be kind of interesting to do something like that. So that is a good idea. Honestly, I don't think fairs generally do enough for kids. They try, and they're always on the lookout for new stuff. So yeah, something like that could definitely work. They're always trying to cater to families and kids, and there's never enough. They're always looking for it. It's one of the weak areas of fair that they know is a weak area, and they're trying to improve constantly. It's just there aren't as many options as they'd like. Normally, they kind of rely on the Faycast and a few small rides and games, and a few performers that cater towards kids, and that's kind of how they've approached it. But they're always on the lookout for more. So yeah. Well, anyway, it's already 7:40, so I'll end it there. But thanks again for spending your Monday evening with me on Fair Life, and I will work on my website a little bit this week and see if I can get that up before next week. So you'll have something new to check out. I'd love some feedback on that. Believe me, I'll be asking you. So enjoy the week. Have a good time. Hopefully it won't rain too much and you'll be able to enjoy a fair this weekend or in the not too distant future. So take care. Good night and have a fair life. Bye.